Okay, so uh, once again, our goal here is for you to be able to factor any quadratics. In other words, anything with a second power, an x squared in it, that kind of a thing. So I'm going to show you how to factor one that you probably haven't seen yet, and it's going to be a situation like this, and uh, it actually has two variables in it. So if we have 6x squared, let's see, plus 6xy minus 12y squared. Okay, so that's going to be our problem. Well, as we've talked about and as your flowchart has on it, the very first step is we got to factor the common stuff out. Now, I can see that all of them are divisible by 6. But we have to be really careful here because one of the things that we're going to want to do is we're going to say, oh, well, we can factor an x out of the first two. We can factor a y out of the second two. Okay, but we can't factor it out of all three. So the x's and y's in this case, we cannot factor any of them out. So let's go ahead and just factor the 6 out. And we end up with x squared plus xy minus 2y squared. Now, I know that this looks very different than the ones that we've been doing, but in reality, it's really not any different. Okay? And the way that we're going to do it is exactly the same thing, too. Whether you're using the generic rectangle or whether you're using the Australian method or whatever. So, we need two numbers that multiply to a negative 2. In this case, just a 2 because we have our cheat sheet that tells us the signs. And then this is a positive 1, and we need them to add to this. So I take my 2, put it over here, and I factor it. Well, there's just 1 times 2. And if we look at the cheat sheet for positive negative, it means that the 2 needs to be positive and the 1 has to be a negative. So I'm going to end up coming back here, and it's going to be almost identical to what we did before. We're going to put our 2 parentheses. We're going to put an x in the front of both of them. The only difference is now that we have a y back here, a y squared, we're going to put a y here and here. And then we're going to put the numbers in there. Now, I know I don't have to put a negative 1 in here, but I'm going to anyway. So I'm going to put negative 1 and a positive 2. Now, am I done? No. I forgot one very important thing, and that's that the 6 has to come down as well. If we forget that, it is not correct. So, if we want to check our answer, then we can actually multiply all of these things, and we should get back to the original problem. And if you want to, go ahead and do so, and you will be able to see that that's exactly what happens. Okay? Let me give you a little bit tougher one now. Let me give you 2x squared, let's see, plus a 5xy, and 5 minus 42y squared. All right, so we look at this. First step, is there anything we can factor out? Nope, 2 of them have x's, 2 of them have y's, but none of them have one variable. Let's see, the 5 is not divisible by 2. No, the answer is no. We cannot factor anything out of this. So, again, we have to treat this just like we did the other problems. Generic rectangle or the Australian method, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to come over here and I go, okay, 2 times 42 is 84. And I have to find all the factors of 84. And eventually I need to get a 5 out of it. Well, I can just kind of see it in my head already what this one is. So I'm just going to jump straight to it. 12 times 7. Because it's a positive negative, That means that the 12 has to be a positive and the 7 has to be a negative. Now, if you didn't see that one right away, of course, you could just write out all of them and you'd find it fairly quickly. Now, I come back over here and I'm going to do just like I did before with one exception. Okay, before I put an x in the front of both and then just put the numbers in, but because I've got a y squared back there, I need a y here and here. Now I'm going to put my numbers in. So I'm going to go plus 12 and a minus 7. Now, for the Australian portion of it, I'm going to take my 2 and I'm going to put it underneath the 12 and underneath the 7. I'm going to reduce. Let's see, 12 over 2 just comes out to be a 6. And so it's 6 over 1, so there's nothing to carry in front of the x. So it's going to turn into x plus 6y. This one here, can't reduce it. So the 2 just comes up into the front. So we got 2x minus 7y. And we're done. This is it. Now again, if we wanted to check our answer, we could multiply these, which again, just to remind you, means that we multiply this times each of these, and this times each of these, and then combine like terms. And we would find that we would go right back to the original problem. So this is a factor. Hopefully you see that these problems here are virtually identical to everything else that we've already been doing. And really the only addition is that we have to put a y in the second part of each binomial. All right? Okay, we will see you in class.